All right, if you want more background, I already put out the Judging Amy preface as well as the Kelly Copter piece, but let us get into it. Who is Amy? Well, Amy was a very high-ranking official in Scientology, and I think she's been judged a lot better than Rinder and Claire Headley and Mark Headley, that she's sort of less culpable than they are in the recent shenanigans with the Aftermath Foundation. And I think that's true, but we now have more additional evidence, and I think the evidence is pretty alarming, and we can only conclude that Mike Rinder and Claire Headley have clearly been systemically distorting things, manipulating people, and just deceiving people about the purposes of the foundation and what they're up to. Now, I want to be clear, there's no evidence that they're, quote, stealing the money, but they're clearly not doing what the foundation should be doing, which is just helping people from a neutral basis. As long as you're trying to get out of Scientology, you should be helped. That's about it. However, they seem to be applying a very partisan agenda to who is getting help. And frankly, they want most of the help to go to them. So that's pretty alarming. So why do we think there's enough evidence to say that Amy is guilty? Well, again, Kelly was focused on Rinder and Aftermath. However, she did do a few things which probably show us that Amy is not who she appears to be.
Taking accountability can be really difficult. All of these people on the Aftermath board, Mike, Mark, Claire, Amy, Matt, they have all had their own traumas in their own rights. As I mentioned at the beginning of this.
Right, that is the basic dilemma, that the board is literally composed of not necessarily all Sea Org people, not necessarily all OSA people, but literally high-ranking officials who are part of the organization and the very ugly part of the organization in Scientology, and therefore many people are not comfortable being around them. And we now just do have evidence that Claire Headley, Mark, and Mike don't really care about confidentiality, private information. They are willing to do some very shifty things when people apply, and now they're adding all these stipulations. You got to sign off from the right to sue them, asking for silence among the board members. It's all very creepy and very iffy. Now, so far, Amy has not officially sided with them. Maybe she is against some of these decisions. Maybe she and her husband are against these decisions. So why are you concentrating on Amy? Why not concentrate on the husband? You're such a sexist. Well, no, here's the thing, and I'm sure Aaron could produce some evidence for this, that it was Amy who decided to read this long harangue against Aaron. I've dealt with that before in the other video in more detail, so here I will just do the summation. I think some points were valid, some points were not valid, but were they valid enough to kick Aaron off the board? I don't think so. If Aaron's behavior is questionable, there's a process. Just do an inquiry, get transparent, have it all vetted out, and then PDF it and give it to us. Because again, it's not just the people in Scientology. There are people outside of Scientology that donated to the foundation. This is a public office. You're taking taxpayer money. You're being asked to be recognized as a charity and or foundation. Now, charities and foundations, within reason, can make money. So you can make a profit. But again, there is accountability. Like it or not, there is a space for us to ask questions. And I think on that part, Kelly is correct that the composition of the board at this point is not tolerable.
Assume that some newly declared SPs may not feel comfortable requesting help from a man whose literal job it was to fair game critics. I think it's in the best interest of the charity, the Aftermath Foundation, that Mike Rinder steps away from it.
So the diversity here is not what you usually think about race or gender, but I do think there is something about age. These are a lot of older people who have been in Scientology, so definitely getting some younger members is very vital. Another problem here is status. It just seems a lot of these people have been used to being the privileged victims, and the Hollywood spotlight is on them, and they do give a little bit of space to other victims, but essentially most of the attention and sympathy and clearly money needs to go to them. Why? Because they're very privileged people. So we're going in a circle. The privileged people want to be treated on a privileged basis. And again, if Amy wants to do that in her private capacity as an individual and citizen, she can do that. She has her own forum. She has her own channel. However, once you took on that responsibility to be on the board, you can be judged. And the evidence says you are guilty. You are guilty of deception. At the very least, you are not stopping what Rinder and Claire and Mark are doing, which is attacking people and trying to destroy them and their credibility and using the foundation to do that. That is not the use of the foundation funds legitimately. Are they doing anything illegal? At this point, nothing outright illegal. However, sharing this kind of confidential information, you can be sued for this. So if Amy wants to be part of these lawsuits attacking Rinder and or Claire in the future, that is her business. But she can't start whining and complaining that she's a total innocent person. No, you're an adult and you should know better. And if she doesn't know better, I think she's going to face some legal troubles up ahead, which is her responsibility to take care of. So you're on the board. You have to answer a few questions. You don't have to answer all questions. You do have to answer a few questions, and I think that's legitimate. So I think we can judge Amy guilty, and it's up to her to be proven innocent. Whether she cares or not, probably not, but we can judge her now because we have much more evidence.